Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Steve Birmingham. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at Intellias. With me today is Chad Mitchell. I'm going to hand it over to Chad in just a few minutes. He'll be presenting on the features of the software as well as providing a live demonstration. So today we'll be introducing you to our job or payroll automation product and how this software can help your organization simplify your payroll processing tasks. This WebEx will be recorded and we will share the replay with you in an email after the event. If you have any questions, feel free to ask through our chat window. We will try to get to them today, or if not, we will certainly answer those in a follow-up message. So let's proceed. As you can see, as the agenda, what I'm going to do is a brief introduction to who we are. Then we'll be handing it over to Chad to do a deeper dive on the key features as well as a live demonstration. So let's begin with who we are. Intellias is headquartered out of Dallas, Texas, and has been in business since 1999. Dating back to approximately that time, Intellias pioneered this web technology for the Infor Lawson community. Intellias is an Infor Alliance partner with our customer base spanning across all Infor Lawson verticals or industries. Although presenting today on payroll automation, Intellias is not limited to solutions only in this area. We have developed additional applications to assist organizations that run HR, financials, procurement, and also supply chain through our additional complementary services. In addition to that, as being an alliance partner, we offer a full suite of services for organizations, including technical services, if you're looking to do any upgrade, as well as application consulting. Before I move on and talk about why or what is job automation, I wanted to let you know that our capabilities are proven on both the product and delivery side. We're fully referenceable if needed, and do back our solution with a 100% guarantee of your satisfaction. So what is job automation? Well, job automation, or payroll automation as you may hear me call it, and Chad will explain why I call it two different things in a second. It simplifies job processing for all different job runs in your payroll. This application utilizes existing Infor Lawson business rules. It resides on the web server and will work seamlessly in your browser, allowing you to run all or multiple jobs sequentially. So some key features that are worth noting here is, one, your jobs will be delivered timely and accurately. This application will automatically add, submit, and run a unique job. The software is designed to notify, analyze, distribute, and archive. You can automate parameters or your set of conditions. You will be able to track payroll progress, and it verifies job completion. And with our designer tool, our automation designer tool, which Chad will certainly be covering, your administrator can build unlimited automations. And what I mean by administrator, of course, is your IT team. Assistance from them is not necessarily required. Departments can control and design the output. Why your organization would be interested in our automation tool? It is, one, very simple and easy to use. The application itself is self-evident. Very little, if any, training is needed. It will reduce your costs of operation by increasing productivity and providing for greater data accuracy. And because the program applies the same job process every time, it reduces staff time and virtually eliminates all data errors. Additionally, there are no additional hardware requirements needed to run our Intellias applications. The last bullet talks about rapid deployment. Based on the needs and number of automations built, we're looking at few weeks for install and implementation with just light assistance needed from your team. Primarily what we're talking about is access, because all work is done remotely, and then testing as well. The next slide is just to let you know that our solutions save organizations time and money. We have, through our customer base, have reduced operational costs by using Intellias applications, and many of our customers realize a tangible return in just under a year. The next slide is just a snapshot of some of the many organizations that are utilizing this software. So again, we certainly appreciate your attendance, and at this time, I will hand it over to Chad Mitchell.
Great, thanks, Steve. All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the automations our clients we've implemented for, with the majority of them being done in the payroll world, because payroll being one of the most arduous tasks in a Lawson system, having to run and operate all those different jobs, you know, on a bi-weekly, semi-monthly period. We've also developed what we call PO APIC. It's basically streaming together the supply chain management. We've done GL close, do the ACBR, basically your invoicing program in Lawson. It's a number of different jobs that you have to run. AP check runs also as well, as that's something that is done on a weekly, many times during the week. And then also we've done some LP processing with the tool. But today we're going to focus today on payroll and show a little glimpse of AP. This is a typical payroll in Lawson where you're having to add, submit, and run 20 or more Lawson jobs to complete your task over a number of days. We've had clients that are running over 150 jobs in a particular payroll. So, you know, we have a large variance between those types of clients that are using the product. But again, each with the premise of having to do the same tasks of adding, submitting, running jobs, checking the print manager, making sure they're completed right, going to the next job in their payroll checklist, and repeating that during the, and having to repeat that on a weekly basis. Our solution is basically a web form where the user can fill out the information that is changing on a per payroll basis. You can see here we got company, check date, period end date, deduction cycle. And so what we're doing with this information is then filling out all the different jobs with all their parameters and then running them. That is what's happening on the screenshot on the right. So you'd fill out the form, hit submit, and then you would get basically all the different jobs that you're going to run, starting points. Also have breaking points. It'll actually stop the application before it continues on, which is really nice for data validation. Also, our application has what we call a designer product as well that allows for clients to have autonomy over their product, their automations going forward, make changes, create new ones. And again, I'm going to give a small demonstration of the designer in this presentation. So what you see on your screen port is basically the Lawson portal. I'm going to actually have to add some time records to the system real quick. And in doing so, what we're going to do, again, I'm not running a PR 530, but again, I'm running a live payroll, so that is why I'm having to add the time records to the system. We're adding them through our speed data entry application. It is an application that consolidates multiple Lawson forms or replicates the same Lawson form multiple times. You can see here we're doing it with the time entry application. And so I'm going to enter some in the actual time record application is the PR35. So what you see on your screen, each cell is actually a PR35. It's replicated multiple times, so it makes it easy to do data management, specifically time entry. So I'm just going to enter some time records real quick. And this isn't part of the actual job automation product. It is part of our speed data entry applications. But again, it gives you a taste of what our speed data entry looks like in trying to get time records in the system so that we can actually run a payroll. All right, so I got time records in the system, and now we can actually run our payroll. So we have different bookmarks. We have our payroll automation bookmark, which is basically a segregation of duties for the job automation. So I could create as many different job automations as I want and segregate them out to AP, you know, maybe AR, your supply chain, payroll. And when you click on those segregations, those bookmarks, it's only going to bring up those automations specific to that duty for that employee. You have different bookmarks. You have the status bookmark, and that is, maybe somebody outside your or inside your department that's not actually running it wants to watch the automation run and have access to all the reports. They can do that. You have the history for those going back in to see what was run, and then you have the run. That's the person that's actually going to run the actual automation. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to do a drop down, select the automation, key in the information into the form. So we're going to go, I haven't updated my GL in a while, just because this is a demo system. That's why you can see it's 2017. And then when we have the period end date, again, just drilling off the period end date calendar to make sure that, it's filled out right. It's not, there's no mistakes written on this. So I'm going to pick that 521, which matches those time records, and I'm going to hit continue. And then what you're going to get is a selection where you can select the starting point for the automation. Now, again, if this is the first time going through, you'd start at the beginning, but let's say your browser crashes, you come back in, you can select the starting point. Or if you have to go in and out of the application multiple times, you can always, find out where you're at, select the starting point, and go forward. I'm going to go ahead and select the PR239 to start. Hit continue. And then what it's going to do is it's going to add, submit, and then run each of these jobs to completion. And then when it finishes one job, then it'll go to the next job. It's creating a unique job name algorithm so that, if we're actually creating jobs each time we're running so that, we can record or we can archive out the application. And we have a history to troubleshoot. If you're using the same job name for each run, you will overwrite the files. So something of interest there. So that's why we're creating new job names for each of these runs. Now you can see that we have access to the print files from here. So if I click on any of these, it's going to spawn a new window for me so that I can actually view that report as the application is running. So I'm going to go ahead and let the PR140 run, and it should complete here shortly. And then what we're going to do is click on that link, have access to the reports beyond having to go into the print manager to view it. So also you can see that we have a breakpoint in the application. So after this step 11, the application is going to stop. And then it's going to allow me to now validate all the different reports. So you can see here, I got the PR140. And again, pulling up that, and you can see here's, you can check the report as you're actually running the actual application. Right, going to jump back. Now it's going to get down to this breakpoint and stop. You can also design in rerun sections. So if you have, a number of jobs that you have to rerun every time, you can design in a rerun section inside the job automation so that you can, if you don't need a rerun, you skip over it. It's really nice. That's how a lot of our clients have addressed the whole need to have reruns. So now you can see it stopped. It's basically saying, please verify reports, and click here to continue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click there to continue and let this live payroll go through its completion. While that's doing that, I'm going to jump to the Job Automation Designer. So I'm jumping to the portal, and you can see it's a bookmark. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the top here, and we're going to go into this payroll. And what the Job Automation Designer does is, you can define as many automations as you want. All the information stored in XML files on the app server. You could do a segregation of duties by naming the application, whatever you want. So here I got all my payroll applications named payroll. And then I deliver that bookmark as payroll automation, and it'll only bring up these automations. You can also see that I have AP automations here, and then I have an ACBR automation defined. So again, I can define as many as I want and name them whatever I want. Go back. Now we get to the user fields. I'm going to click on user fields. Now, this is a little bit different than the Lawson world. In the Lawson world, you know, our user fields are fields that the application will use from a form standpoint for the user to actually enter in the information on that front form. So you can see here I got company, check date, period end date that's being keyed in, last pay period begin date, deduction cycle. So you key all that information in and continue on. We also have on the user fields hidden fields. So these are fields that are hidden on the form that are storing values that will be populating the actual job on the back end. So you can see I have a number here. You know, I got my bank code that's needed for some jobs, and the min and max receipts, and the next payment check number, next direct deposit check number, and so forth. Now, if it's empty, then what we're doing is we're actually going and grabbing that information from the server prior to running that job. I'm going to kind of show you an example of that in just a minute. I'm going to hit back. Now what we're going to do is go down to the job setup. Now in the job setup, I have each of the jobs that are going to run for the automation. So the job ID, I can name it whatever I want. This is the token is actually a job in job def, so that has to exist in job def. And then you have the different fields that will be used by the automation. And then, you know, I'm going to talk about how that's going to be populated. Is it going to be a string value? Is it going to be a variable? So forth. So here you can see company. It's going to be a variable. It's going to be whatever the user keys in. The other values are string values. They're hard values that don't change. So that is how we're populating the HR 170. I'm going to jump to the PR 160. Looking at the PR 160, all of you in payroll should be familiar with this. We have, you know, for instance, the starting check number that is going to be filled by a variable. The starting receipt number is filled by a variable, so both of those. Got bank code is filled by a variable called bank code. So we're going to be populating this information, or it might be already specified in the actual user field section. You know, we have some other sections that are, or other fields that will be populated via the string. So those will be the same values each time. Also, I have the ability to manipulate a value prior to populating that field. So, you know, the GL date and the PR 195, well, I need to basically grab this from a variable, the period end date, but then from that, I need to figure out what is the last day of the month for that particular period end date to fill out that GL date. So that's why we have a number of functions that we can use. You have accrual rate, so we're grabbing the period end date, and then we're manipulating that with this function to get the accrual rate to populate that. Really nice way to be able to manipulate the values that are being populated in those forms. We'll go ahead and hit back, and then what you're going to see is the run setup. Now within the run setup, this is actually specifying the order that the jobs are running in and any runtime criteria. So here, you know, I got my HR 170s that will be run first. And then also you have this condition variable and condition value. So if I want, you know, let's go ahead and scroll down on the PR 195. I have a conditional variable called last monthly payroll, and the conditional value has to equal to yes if it's going to run. So I can, you know, filter out jobs on certain conditions if I want. And this is just to alleviate, you know, the number of automations I need to create. So here we didn't have to create a new automation because we could actually create a conditional variable and conditional value. Also, we can specify if it can be rerun, what job queue it can go into, if it's going to be verified success or not. So we could say, hey, only run the next job, only go to the next step if we verified success in the add and submit of the application. We can also do that with the PR00, looking at the PR00, making sure that it was completed as well. All right, I'm going to jump over to the Lawson job. So it doesn't have to be a Lawson job to run this. So we could actually say false and then use script, you know, a script to actually run the application. So that's really nice. You can specify the job name that will be used. Here you can see my PR 530 needs to be named PR530EXP because we have certain a job definition created upon that job name to pull in certain CSV files for that run. We also, you can see user verify, got false, true, false. So we're actually stopping the application after this particular job is run to verify, that everything looks good, and then they continue on. We have the ability to do both pre-job functions and post-job functions. So before this job runs, the HR 170, it goes and updates the HR 65 with these values. We can also do post-job functions. If I scroll down here, you can see here on the PR 160, we're basically getting the bank file. Now, that is a JavaScript function that goes and grabs the bank file and then sets the values of the variables for the direct deposit and the check number, the next check number. So you no longer have to do that as well. We have the ability to specify upon each job if it's a multiple run job. So if we're running that same job multiple times with different values, I can do that. And the storage of the values that populate the field is done in the array. And that's another section set up inside the Job Automation Designer. We have the ability to do post calls. So things that, after a job is run, I can email out something. I could print it. I could do an analysis. I can archive. So there's all sorts of things that you can do after a job is completed. And this is in effect to try to, build an application that's a one-stop shop. All right, so I'm going to go back, and what we're going to do is jump to one of the other clients that uses the arrays, just so I can show you that functionality. So Baycare uses arrays. So if I go look at the run setup, all right, the run setup, I'm going to scroll down. You can see here these PR275s are multiple runs, and here's the array that's being used as well. You have the PR162, the process group array, the bank code array, and so forth. So all of these are going to be used in a multiple run fashion in different ways. All right, and then we're going to go to the arrays. Under the arrays, you can see I'm storing under the bank code array all these different attributes, and then I can specify the value for each of these attributes. I'm going to scroll down. All right. Deduction code array, all the deduction codes that will be used as well, and so forth. All right, so we talked about the run setup, the job setup arrays. I got functions as well. Underneath functions, I can define the different functions that will be used and actually do JavaScript right on this screen and apply that to the actual job. So really nice to bring that out for the developers or the automations to be able to use. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump back to the automation. You can see now it went through the completion of 27 steps. Very, very easy. This is how easy it is for the organizations that we use or that have used our application to run payrolls or AP check runs or whatever they're doing with their jobs. So at this point, I'm going to jump back into the and show just a quick AP automation to give you guys an idea. You can see, I'm going to be adding the pay group, invoice company, payment date. That's all that's needed for an automation to run, pay through date, process level. Right, and then we're going to go ahead and go select the starting point. Now, this is only 5 jobs long, right? But if you multiply that by 5 different types of AP check runs during the week and then multiply that by the number of weeks, you can get a pretty hefty list of runs that you need to do, and to make sure that that's run flawlessly by a checklist every time is difficult to do as well. So it's going to be running the AP 150. You can see I had a breaking point to stop the application. goes through completion of each of these jobs. Now I'm kind of showing you a cam demo here, not a live demo, just because to set up the AP check runs takes a little bit of time. So, but you can get a taste of what this looks like. All right. So that's pretty much a taste of the application of the both running it, the job automation as a payroll, and then also as an AP check run. So at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the recording,